What's up? I just finished some sick mods. Whoa, like what's up, bros? I totally just completed some gnarly fabrications, man. I'm sorry, I really don't know. Hey guys, we are working again on the 67 Massey Ferguson with the Continental G176. The engine in it, we have a lot of problems to get through. As you can see, I've got all my mods, my fabrications, my repair work lined up here, ready to go. So let's go back and see what I had to do to get it ready to go back on the engine. So a guy could probably really get away with just soaking this in oil and running it as it is. But I kind of want to do a better job than that, get this rust off, so forth. So I think I'm going to go ahead and completely disassemble the rocker assembly. I've just spent, I don't know, half an hour or whatever at the wire wheel working on cleaning up head bolts, push rods, rocker cups, clamps, things of that sort. Can't find a set of head bolts for this engine anymore. A guy, I suppose, could just look for a generic length from ARP. I think these are just grade 8 bolts, so you could even go and buy some grade 8 bolts of the right length. But I'm 100% confident that these are going to hold up just fine. Little tip for you guys that never darken the doorway of an implement dealer like a John Deere or a Case dealer, especially the farm machinery type, not necessarily construction. I live 10 miles from a very small town, but it does have a John Deere dealer, and those guys have to keep in stock a good assortment of both metric and SAE fasteners, and they have to keep in stock something better than grade 5, just because of the nature of what they're doing there. So if you don't necessarily have a Fastenal anywhere close to you or anything, but you do have an equipment dealer, there's always an option there. But I'm going to set you up and we'll take this apart. Now, don't be obstinate. So we certainly have some very, very light wear, very light rubbing on the bottom where our rockers were. These rockers have little insert bearings. Now that we're not under tension, you know, there may be a couple thousandths in there, which I would think you would certainly want for your oil film. I don't see anything too terribly concerning. I think we can just clean this up. You can see where springs have been rubbing. Those are actually more pronounced than the bearings, so the area where the bearings are rubbing. So in the name and in the task of just getting this thing running again without water in the oil, we're going to call it good. We're going to clean it up. We're going to de-rust everything. Make sure everything oil can flow through everything. And I think we'll just put it back together. So everything is de-rusted and degreased, or unrusted and ungreased, I don't know. It's very interesting to me. See, I'm a guy, I'm very lopsided in my mechanical experience. Now, I used to work on Fords full-time in a modern shop once upon a time, but all my experience in vintage automobiles, you know, it's like 90% Chevrolet. With some other GM brands, you know, that obviously have similar engineering sprinkled in there amongst them. So my experience is very lopsided, and that's just what a guy's interested in. That's what a guy buys for himself and whatnot. So anyway, it's interesting to see other brands, other engineers' solutions to the same problem. These rocker arms are interesting. Got like a stamped piece that's made like a blacksmith would make a hammer or a hatchet. You know, they make the head of it. I guess in this case it'd be the eye, and then you got two folded pieces, and it's like they're soldered together. You see a copper colored solder in here. I don't know. That could be a welding mark. That could be a welding tip mark. I don't know. Whatever they used to heat it up. I don't know how they did it. But that's kind of interesting. And then, of course, like I said, we have an insert bearing, kind of like a little tiny cam bearing in here. And then we got a passage here that goes to this, where you would adjust your valve lash, and that goes in there so oil can come out the split between the two halves here and oil the top of your push rod. This one in particular was air was not coming through. Most of them have been clear. I'll stick a straw with the brake cleaner straw in there and blast it out. But I had a couple I wasn't getting a good flow of air through, so we'll clean that up. It's just kind of interesting. And then this whole assembly, like I was kind of deliberating on last time, seems to me it is pressurized through a hole in the head, and then our shaft bolts on our standoffs here, they're quite loose down in here. So it must force pressure through that one hole up through whichever one that was, and it gets to the shaft that way, and then it goes through. It is just like a oil gallery then, I guess, and then it gets to your bearings from there, and then out through the little passageway to your push rods. So very interesting. Now I've got the cylinder head back from the machine shop, and I'll bring you in a little bit closer to take a look at that. I had them Magnaflux it, make sure there were no cracks in this, and then had them mill the head down. So that's a nice flat surface. I'm going to turn my attention to the valves. A lot of the stuff, guys, is simply unobtainium, which I believe is a very, very, very early, ancient Latin term. Unobtainium. Unob. So, fat chance finding that buddy. Fat chance finding that buddy. Yeah. Unobtainium. So we pretty much have to make do with what we have. I think I could find valves. Now later on we're going to get into a more serious problem, so to speak, a part I cannot find. And if you think back to when we took this apart, you'll remember there was a broken piece, and so we have to manufacture our own. The valves, the springs, the keepers, all of this stuff we're going to reuse. Especially number 1 exhaust, the little dished out area as compared to number 4, it's just absolutely full of crud. And if you remember, number 1 was very clean cylinder. Number 2 was slightly less clean, but still very clean, as you can see. And then the farther back we go, the cleaner the exhaust valves get. And so I would assume that this is the result, just crud buildup from trying to run water in antifreeze, and the all the carbon and oil deposits, all the sludge basically trying to burn and failing miserably, and that's the result. So I'm going to take at least these front 2 cylinders and I'm going to go media blast this, clean that up, then I'll wire wheel all the carbon off everything. Just clean them up, might as well, and then we will start in on the next process. Well, that seems to have worked exceedingly well. So well, in fact, that I just decided to hit them all, I'm pretty sure valves are obtainable, but if we don't need to, we don't need to, I'm not here to just replace everything I can. We're just trying to get it going again for a guy, like I've said from the beginning. So, my little handy-dandy stand for head rebuilding is kind of blocked by my press over here. I may have to block this up a little bit higher so I can do this, but we are going to move on to lapping valves. Some guys, you can tell how busy they are by how big of a mess they've got going on, right? But then again, that could also be an indicator that they're terribly lazy too. So I guess a mess doesn't necessarily mean anything. You can have a very clean shop, and that could mean nothing ever goes on in there, or it could mean they work hard at keeping it clean. Who knows? Oh, I like that I dropped that right in oil dry. Anyway, we're going to do some lapping. I do it old school with the suction cups. If this behaves, unfortunately this is a performance tool, and performance tools typically suck eggs. So I don't know if it's going to work or not. The last one I did, I had some problems. getting that suction cup to stay. Get a little compound on there. So far, so good. Here a guy can easily see what our valve lapping has done on the seats. Both intake and exhaust are done on number 1. This is what that looks like on the intake valve. The exhaust looks a little more choppy, a little more, I don't want to say pitted, but you know, there's some discoloration going on in there. I'm probably just going to leave it, let it work it out for itself, and just continue. So you can see on this valve, we got nice wide margin on here, which is very, very good. That means these have not really been, they probably have never been ground down before. I am going to check where we're making contact. So we're just going to do some arts and crafts here real quick. So you can see there we're making contact. There's a line right about halfway on the face of the valve there, the angle. On these, you probably typically want to see that a little bit higher up. But honestly, we're going to go with it no matter what it is. I'm just going to continue lapping, and I just did that for fun, I guess. I don't know. And here's what we look like across the board. Overall, very, very consistent, which to me is a sign that we're doing okay. All the intakes are consistent, all the exhausts are consistent. All the valves sit up nice and high. We've got a nice, like I said earlier, we got a nice margin on all of them. So I think we are just fine. Now I'm going to spend many moments scrubbing out our chambers here and the valve guides, making sure there's no lapping compound left, and we'll move on. Wow, what a flood of brake clean. Good night. Anyway, got a can of 1030 here. I don't like putting things together dry. Front of the head, front of my tray, we're good to go. Oil my rotator. Let me get my dead blow. Well, here's a mallet. That'll work. I'll go get my mechanics one in a bit. Just make sure those keepers are down. Now on the intakes they have oil seals. Exhaust does not. I have these Chevy ones and they seem to be pretty close to the right size, so I'm going to call that good. Well, why am I putting it on already? So tell me, what kind of thoughts and emotions are going through your head right now? So, the next stage, the next thing we need to figure out on this tractor is, if you cast your thoughts back to the previous video on it, there was a broken, what they call a rocker arm ball socket or something to that effect. Just a little tiny cup, about 3/4 of an inch across diameter, that I guess it just merely holds oil. It gets pinched in between the end of the valve stem and the rocker arm, the ball on the rocker arm, and I suppose that just keeps oil going. Maybe they were trying to take up valve lash and get the right angle, although I kind of doubt it. But yeah, if you remember, there was a broken one, and the end of the valve stem where that one was broken had a little indentation. Evidently the ball on the rocker arm is harder than the valve stem, so that had warned. I mean, it was very superficial, but we've got to make one of those ball sockets. And I'm telling you, I have scoured the internet. I have called. I have emailed. I have talked to people 2 hours from home. I have talked to people in Texas, in Pennsylvania, in Missouri, in Ohio. Many parts outfits and antique tractor salvage yards. The last one, what was their name? It doesn't really matter. I think they were in Pennsylvania. I can't remember. Wanger or something like that. They had a lot of salvaged parts even listed on their website, which is unusual. Pictures of used valve train, the rocker arm assemblies and so forth. And I thought, oh, excellent. These guys have taken engines apart. They've taken valve trains apart. That means they must have things like push rods, tappets, ball sockets sitting around in bins, right? I mean, why wouldn't you save it if you're in the salvage business? But I called them and they looked up the part number, because I found 2 websites that had the parts breakdowns even on their websites, but they did not have that part number. And these last guys, nope. He said, if we don't have a part number for it in our system, we didn't keep it. Now, is it laying around out there somewhere? Probably, but unfortunately, that is the story. Not available. I'm sure it's around somewhere. I was even, any other application, there were even other Continental engines that listed a similar part, but it was a different part number. Maybe the size is a little bit different, whatever. I didn't care. Nope. No one can get it. So we get to fabricate our own. So here's the part in question. One of these was broken in half or whatever and just laying in the top of the head under the valve cover. And this is the elusive part. Like I said, it's about 3/4 of an inch outside diameter, 0.752-ish. I would call that close enough. And then it's about 1/4 inch, a little over, 0.280, so a little over 1/4 inch, and then it's just got a nice dished out surface in there. That's going to be the difficult part. I hope we can work with. My thoughts, of course, it's hardened steel. You know, you're sandwiched in amongst valve trains, so it's needs to be hardened steel. My thoughts went to other vehicle components that would be hardened steel. My first thought was a hydraulic lifter, cutting one of those down. But then I have thought, you know, what about something like this? This is a Moog 405. That's got to be about one of the cutest little U-joints I've ever worked with. And the good thing about this is I have 4 chances to make something out of it. Now we got a little bit wrong of shape on the bottom. I don't think that's going to hurt us any. 0.751. So that is close. We're just probably about twice as deep as we need to be, so we got to cut that down. I think this edge is chamfered here. I think I can just leave that. That's not going to be an issue. It's just that hollowing that out, getting a radius in there, or a concave surface in there so that ball will want to ride in there. So, you know, I'm going to lose a little in the dishing it out. You know, if I could just get a little bit out of it, I'd be happy. So those thoughts and emotions you're having about this site, well, you know, I probably had them the same thoughts and emotions as well. This is something our former shop foreman would do here at work. And I remember walking into the welding shop for the first time and seeing an angle grinder in the tool rest, in the tool post. So evidently he must have been working on something with hardened steel too, making jigs, making whatever, needing to cut apart bearings. Who knows what he was doing, but didn't want to ruin lathe tools, you know. So that's what I'm going to start with trying. I don't think I'll even turn the lathe on and use it, other than just having a rest for the grinder and a consistent axle for the bearing, and we'll just go from there. So it's a little nerve-wracking nonetheless. Okay, well, back to plan A. I do not like how thin these particular cups are. Yeah, it's just not going to work. This is quite substantial. It's got a nice radius in it, like I was talking about. This does not. There's no way I could get that to work well unless I got a nice drift with a nice round ball on the end and smacked it really hard right in the center, and pushed this down. You know, I can't take away any material. This is just too thin. So that's not going to work. I ruined a perfectly good, absolutely adorable little U-joint, all in the name of science. No, it's not science. Now, I dug an old lifter out of one of the 292s that I took apart a little while ago with you guys. Dug this out of the scrap bucket over here. Right off the bat, this top piece, this is the spring-loaded piece that your push rod rides in your typical small block Chevy or second gen 6-cylinder uses. That alone could possibly work. That might be a little tight with the size of the ball on the rocker arm on this Continental, but that almost would probably work. We can check that out. But I'm going to take, so these are the guts out of the Chevy lifter here, and that rode right there and then down in there. I'm going to do the same process, cut this down on the lathe again and see what the bottom on the inside looks like. See if they have kind of a radius in there or not. Got too much junk and motor oil in there. And I'll show you what my findings are. How exciting. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm definitely a little more encouraged about at least the materials used here. We got this what I assume is a much more hardened steel clear on the bottom of the lifter, and then just what's left of the sidewall here where they weld the two together, whatever they do, whatever their process is. Now my diameters and so forth my dimensions are a little off, you know, but that's not going to matter. That just hangs out over the valve stem. No big deal there. The next challenge is going to be the dish shape in hardened steel. I'm going to try this burr I don't know. And then we have options like an abrasive stone like that. I think I have some balls and so forth at home that I can see. If we just get a little bit of something in there, and I can even try turning that a little bit with a tool. I'm going to play around with it on my mini lathe at home and see what we come up with. So we'll see you there. Probably speeding this lathe up a little bit wouldn't be a bad idea. So what a guy should have done was built a tool post bracket for a die grinder and sat here, you know, double spinning the thing, and that really would have got the job done centered. These little ball stones, you know, they always take on the shape of what you're grinding, not the other way around. I'm sure there's good quality ones out there somewhere. I just have never been able to find them. But what we needed was the speed for that hardened steel. This just wasn't turning fast enough to make any progress. Once you see sparks, you know, then you know you got something. So I dished it out really good with the die grinder. Now I'm just going back, trying to center everything up again, and it's going to be good enough. It's going to ride where it needs to ride, and it'll be okay. And it may even start to wear in a little bit together, you know. So I'll let this grind, let the, you know, ruin the ball for a while, and move on from there. And here's our finished result. You know, like I say, it's not perfect, but when you got no other options, you got to do something, right? So a little bit bigger diameter wise, but it's not going to affect us in any way. And that should work. I have one more thing we need to address, to modify, to fabricate. And then I think this thing will be ready to go back together. Alright, so our last problem that we need to address before we go back together is the gas tank. And I don't know if you can see it from your vantage point, but we have a little hole right there. Let me see if I can help you out a little bit. There we are. Little hole right there. Well, everything from mud daubers to small barn owls can, you know, they'd be just drawn to that to build a nest in there, you know. So, you know, they come for the dark, quiet place. They stay for the asphyxiation. Anyway. So we pretty much need, I don't know why someone would have left a vent off and just left a hole, but we've got to take care of it. And once again, no, we don't have the right parts. So what am I gonna do? Well, originally I ordered one from Summit. This is a gas tank vent, and honestly, you could almost put this right in the tank, you know, kind of thing. Just put it through the sidewall. Now if you filled it to the brim, it might come out. The problem with one of these is the check valve is in the hose bar. So, you know, it would have been a handy dandy thing almost to just, you could probably put it in the top of the tank if you can sneak your hand in there or come up with a way to get this up in there, you know. I actually had one from a previous project that I forgot about. When I moved a gas tank on a 54 Chevy pickup years ago. Ordered another one, so now I have two. But I was at my favorite parts store, and we were talking about this, and he came up with this little breather. That's 1/4-inch pipe. So I'm going to modify one of these here flanges that I got at my local Ace is the place. And then we're going to go like this. And then we're going to go like this. And then hopefully we'll go like this. That way we keep dirt and bugs out. And on a hot day, fumes can escape. And everybody will be a little bit happier, I hope. Get. Sheep were coming in the back door. Alright, here is our flange, whatever you want to call it, and I made a quick gasket out of rubber. Looks terrible, but it'll work. And I'm going to use some of these, I think they call them wafer heads, Phillips. They're self-drilling. You know, they've got a smooth flat head and a angular bottom. Sounds like some people I know. Smoky Mountain pain, I keep on falling. I keep on calling. But no one hears my cries. Smoky Mountain pain, I keep on falling. I'm sorry, Marty. That wasn't necessary. Marty? It wasn't Marty. It's totally Ronnie, not Marty. Good night. Maybe they were buds. I don't know, but they certainly didn't sing similar. Oh, that's just perfect. just got up there. Does a guy ever feel like someone or something is just picking on him, needling on him? You know, you got a project going on, you give it your due diligence, you try your best. Perhaps you get into the hole with money, you know, or not into the hole, but you know what I mean. You invest a lot of time and money in something, and in the end, it's all for naught. Now, I think that's probably happened to most of us. It's a bit harder to swallow when you're doing something for someone else, trying to help someone else out. You cast your mind back about a month ago, or however long it's been. You'll remember that we obviously had water in the oil. I opened the drain plug, I filled the coolant passages with fresh water, and the thing sat here for, I don't know, 4 days, 5 days, and it never went down, and we never saw water dripping out of the drain plug. And that was really all I could do here, you know. So I thought we were good with the block, and we proceeded to get the head checked out and do everything you just watched. Well, I just finished up the video that you're watching right now, and I was going to start the next one, the rebuilding and driving the thing on out of here video. Pulled the drain plug, I was going to replace the oil filter. We had all the parts, everything reconditioned, ready to go. About 2 quarts of water come out of the oil pan. Fresh water. What in the world? That thing must have had such, well, I think little gremlins or demons had their fingers in the dike, you know, stuck in the cracks. Thing must have had such a slow dripping leak out of a crack. After 4 days, 5 days, nothing. But it sat here, you know, another 3 weeks. And I didn't catch it because I had actually drained, I drained the radiator, drained the water out, so the water level went down in the block to where I couldn't see it anymore, you know. So I didn't catch it. I should have just left it, I guess. But anyway, that is too bad. Now I have got to call the owner and figure out where we stand with the money that has been put into the project so far and what to do with the thing. An engine, or at least a block, is going to be very difficult to find and very expensive. Just cruising around online, I found a worn out engine, much like the one we got here, but probably not cracked. It did say it did not have compression on number 1, but they wanted $1,200 for that engine. And you have to get into this being a tractor. The block is the frame, you know. It's your connection point between the front axle and the rear. You got to split the whole tractor apart. You know, we're talking about a lot more labor and everything else. So I'm not sure he's going to be interested in that. He may just move on. I would love to have this thing around my farm, but I'm not sure I'm willing to invest the time and the money to get that going. So we just got to hash out where we stand with each other and what we're going to do with the thing. I think for now I'm going to duct tape the top of the block off. We'll seal it up with plastic or something. Put some, you know, put some old diapers or rags or dirty jeans or, you know, whatever we can to seal up the top of it, and push it outside and figure out what we do. So guys, kind of a disappointing end to the video. We got to go through a lot of processes of working on something like this, fabrication processes, modification processes, but we just can't see the culmination, you know, the climax of the thing. So Very disappointing, but that's how it goes. I really enjoy you coming around though and sharing this with me, investing your time watching this. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. God bless you. We'll see you on the next one. Just playing around, putting things back together so we don't get lost. We got our home fabricated cup there. And we're at the right height. Oh well. Cylinder head for sale. Rocker assembly, refurbished, ready to go.